Let's talk about the last season's NBA Cup winner for a minute here, and specifically with LeBron James.
Yeah.
It has not been a good stretch of basketball for LeBron, especially offensively. He is 0 of his last 24 from three-point range. You look at some of the numbers, and while he's still putting up kind of all-star caliber numbers, he had a great game against Utah 2 nights ago. His field goal percentage has dipped below 50% for the first time in a very long time. His three-point percentage is off by, I think, 5 points from last season. So the numbers are tailing off a little bit for LeBron James. And look, ordinarily, if this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we probably wouldn't say too much about it. But we are creeping towards LeBron's 40th birthday. And while he's beaten back Father Time for a pretty long time, you have to wonder if we're now starting to see, more significant signs of erosion in his game. You're at a lot of Laker games. You watch them all the time. Like, what do you think when you see LeBron right now?
Look, LeBron has a lot of different goals every year. This year, he said he wanted to play in all 82 games. If that's your goal, your other goal can't be being as strong as you can at the end of the season and in the playoffs, and in fact, extending your career. Those two goals just don't go together. And I understand if you're LeBron James, I mean, you've literally been able to do everything all the time for, 20 something years at this point. And frankly, he's been one of the most famous athletes and a guy who's kind of been able to do whatever he wants on the basketball court since he was 16 years old. So him thinking I can just continue to do whatever I want is totally natural. We see that with athletes all the time. The problem is he's trying to do something that's very rarely been done and compete in this league and win in this league past 40. And he's not giving his body the proper time to also accomplish the goal of, I want to make the playoffs. I want to be good in the playoffs. Lakers last year, Darvin Ham tried to put a minutes restriction on him. He publicly chafed at that. He criticized the coaching staff publicly for that. Guess what? It was for a reason. And, for years we've seen LeBron kind of, taking it a little easier on defense. Is that how we should say it? But, I just kind of think we are seeing the natural progression of someone who plays as much and as hard as he does. What happens to you? And he's either got to look in the mirror and change his goals, or the Lakers have to change how they depend on him because he's still carrying so much of the weight for that team.
So what is Underdog? Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athlete performances. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes this football season. Which players are going off, which ones are ice cold. Make your picks in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into real money. You could win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like points, blocks, steals, and much more. I've had a lot of fun using Underdog to go all in on Anthony Davis, who is having a monster season on both ends of the floor. Tyrese Maxey, who has stepped into a huge role in Philadelphia. And the Boston Celtics, who continue to put up win after win. Even the Cleveland Cavaliers, Darius Garland, a 45% three-point shooter, have had a lot of success and a lot of fun playing with Underdog. So download the app today and use code OPENFLOOR to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's OPENFLOOR to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. Must be 18 or over, 19 or over in Alabama or Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org in Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in New York. Call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. It's crazy, Rachel, that he's played all 21 games this year. Like, I know he wants to play all 82. First of all, it's not going to happen under the best of circumstances. What the hell is LeBron doing playing the first end of a back-to-back against Utah? Now, it turns out they needed him in that game because they almost choked that one away. That would have been bad. But on paper, like that's the game you give him the night off because you got to fly. They just had played what on was it Sunday? You fly to Utah, you fly then to Minnesota to play a back-to-back there. Like, what is he doing playing on the front end of a back-to-back against the Utah Jazz? That was a mistake, I thought, on the part of the Lakers on JJ Redick. You got to force him out. Like, he's playing 35 minutes a game. Like, the numbers aren't coming down. Like, you've got to save him from himself because, look, I think that the three-point shooting is going to come back around. Like, he talked about it after the Minnesota game. He's kind of out of rhythm right now. He'll find that rhythm again. He's too good a player. But if you keep rolling him out there for 35 minutes a game over 75-plus games of the season, even if you get into the playoffs, he's going to have zero left. Nothing. Like, it's going to be a waste of everybody's time because he's not going to have enough left in the tank to go up against these young athletic teams like Minnesota, like Oklahoma City, the top-tier teams in the Western Conference. The Lakers have to save LeBron from himself. Now, as far as like the general, the state of LeBron, it kind of reminds me of to go to my other sport, like an aging great boxer, like George Foreman, right? Like where you're not what you used to be, but you can still dial it up from time to time, and you're still better than most everybody else. George Foreman, of course, won a world championship into his 40s. LeBron is still capable of those bursts of athleticism. We saw it in the Orlando game against Jonathan Isaac. We've seen it a couple other times during the season. But he's more or less like a below-the-rim player at this point. He's using his physicality. He's getting to the paint, sealing guys off. He's banging them around. Like he's using that frame to get buckets. And he's become, three-point dependent. Now, his three-point numbers aren't up in terms of attempts from last year, but they're right around what they have been the last few years. And that's kind of the player that he's evolved into. So I don't think that he's changed that dramatically as a player. He's always going to be a defensive guy who's going to give you spurts, but consistently not going to be the guy we saw during those Miami years. But offensively, I don't know that I'm seeing too much regression from the last couple of years. The three-point shooting, I think, is a funk that he's going to find his way out of over the next few weeks. I just think it's incumbent. And look, my opinion on JJ changes from show to show. Like 3 weeks ago, I thought he was terrible. Last week, I was giving him credit. This week, stop playing LeBron. JJ, stop playing LeBron James.
That's easier said than done. I mean, they had an
but you're the coach, like, right?
Plan, an agreement last year that he supposedly signed off on, and 2-3 games in the season, he was like, yeah, scratch that. So I don't know if JJ can get to him differently because of their friendship. I don't know if someone just has to have that hard conversation with him where it's like, hey, you got to choose. You pick one. Do you want to play all 82 or do you want to play all games as long as you want to, but not really make the playoffs or do anything in it? Or do you want to make the playoffs and try to win again? Because that's literally the choice. I mean, you talk about the shooting coming back. Of course, he's not going to shoot this badly. He's a better shooter than that. But you know what makes shooters who are decent or good not shoot well? Tired legs. Yeah. I mean, we see that over and over again. And he's still taking all those three-point shots instead of trying to get into rhythm with some sort of easier buckets. I don't know, but is part of that because running up and down the court, only going to outside the three-point line is easier than mixing it up inside. Now, he has definitely been at the bucket quite a bit, so I don't want to go too far here. But I do just think this is a case of an athlete who is so supremely good and has been his entire career thinking he could do everything. And at a certain age, we all know in our own lives, I mean, even from your 20s to your 30s, you can't do everything you used to do anymore. You've got to be smart about how you play and what your goals are going to be. And, to your point, there's that country music song that goes, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I 100% think LeBron falls into that category at this point. And he can have more of those I'm as good as I ever was nights if his body is in condition to do that. And at 40, that's just a different proposition than it was at 30.
It's a great point about the three-point shooting and the leg fatigue because there is a direct correlation there. And if there was a sign from the basketball gods, it would be that. Like, he can't make a three. He's missed all of them his last 4 games. I mentioned the 0 for 24 going back 5 games. Like, this is like basketball god waving his hands saying, hey, let's give this guy a night off and let him rest. My question, though, is like, and you've talked to LeBron a lot more than I have over the years. You've done countless interviews with him over the years. He is one of, if not the smartest player to ever play the game. In addition to his fantastic athleticism, his basketball IQ is off the charts. He knows, or at least he should know, that approaching 40, he can't play all 82 games or even 75 games. He probably should be in like the 65 range at max to give this team a chance to do something when it gets to the playoffs. Like he knows his own body. He's coming off the Olympic cycle, which we haven't even talked about. Like he's got to know that to give himself a chance to compete for a championship this year, which is, a long shot to begin with, but to give himself a chance, he's got to be fresh. And there's no way to do that. There's no way to do that by playing this type of pace.
Yeah. And look, there's a difference though between basketball IQ, which as you point out, his is off the charts, and knowing when it's time to not say goodbye per se, but to start pulling back a little bit. And look, most athletes have a hard time with that. I remember talking to Derek Jeter after he retired, and he was just struggling with, what is my life now? What is my role? Did I give it up too soon? Even though he clearly didn't. So I just think that when you are as great as LeBron has been for as long as he has been, it is literally who you are. And you don't know who you are without being the guy who plays big minutes. You don't know who you are who isn't the backbone of the team that has to be out there all the time. And that has got to be a mental shift. I mean, this was supposed to happen naturally. Anthony Davis was supposed to grow into the team's biggest star. So LeBron could be more of, 1A or whatever you want to call it when you're LeBron James, to, lead this team. It really hasn't happened. I thought that under JJ Redick, AD would take a little bit of a leap. I think as good as Anthony Davis is, and he's really good, I think he hasn't quite been maximized as well as he can his whole career. And JJ is such a technical coach. I thought he'd put him in positions to sort of take that lead, take that jump, lead the team this year. Hasn't quite happened yet. Anthony called his performance the other night disgusting, is what the word he used. So I don't know if LeBron playing fewer games would let AD kind of take that leadership role a little more. I mean, he's always going to be the second option when LeBron's out there. I don't know, but the Lakers clearly have a problem here. And the bottom line is got to be a decision between LeBron and JJ, or LeBron and whoever, where LeBron takes equal ownership of, I've got to play less. And right now, he hasn't been willing to do that.
Look, they're fighting for a play-in spot right now. No, we're only at the quarter-way point of the season with him playing all these games. So I get it. You need all your stars available and playing as often as possible, but there's got to be a middle ground here. Like, again, the back-to-back against Utah, it was mind-blowing. Like, you're going to play in both games of that back-to-back, and you're going to begin against the Utah Jazz, a team that, quite frankly, has no interest in winning, right? No. Like, it was kind of funny at the end of that game with Will Hardy calling the timeout. It was like, that was like Danny Ainge's dream. We have an ultra-competitive game right down to the wire. Our fans are engaged, and we lose. Yeah. Yay! Got it done. But playing him that game, I thought was a mistake. They've got to figure this out, or else, there's going to be the artist formerly known as LeBron playing for the Lakers in late March and early April.